What's up, YouTube? So I wanted to shoot a video to kind of give you an update as far as what's going on with my SPS tank. Also, my frag tank is finished cycling. I have new fish in there. I want to give you an update on that as well. But the main part of this video is to pretty much, just to let everybody know that we have to enjoy our tanks more, I think. A lot of times we're just doing things to tinker and to balance out the stability, which is fine, and to make everything stable, which is what you should be doing. But this is the part of the time I just like to sit back and just look at my tank and just enjoy it and just remember why I'm in the hobby in the first place. It's not to tinker with everything all the time. It's to kind of just sit back and just do this. So this is my view right now. So this is what I'm enjoying early in the morning. I just finished feeding my fish. They're swimming around. They're happy. My coral is they're doing rather well. Again, this is an SPS dominant tank. Actually, everything in there is SPS. So it's one of those tanks to where you're not going to see anything waving or anything different in SPS. I wanted to take a different approach with this tank, and I know what I wanted to do before I did it, and now I have the finished product. As you can see, my scape was created with a lot of caves and a lot of over arches and stuff like that. But my main thing was I was looking ahead when I was creating the scape. So a lot of times when people create scapes, it's like, oh yeah, it's beautiful and everything is great right then and there. But my approach on this scape, I knew that I wanted to have an SPS dominant tank for one, and two, I knew that each of the frags that I put in here will eventually grow out, and how they grow within your scape is, again, that's a personal preference. So for me, my view is you can look from right, to left. You can see how I have all the frags placed, right? And everything is growing out, and once these frags become full colonies, they're gonna fill in that space, and it's just gonna make the escape look that much better. So that's my personal preference, and somebody else can do it differently. Sometimes people just want to fill every single inch in space with coral and everything, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's whatever you choose to do is your money, and it's your tank. You can set it up the way you want to. You don't have to set it up for anybody else. But for me, I wanted to set my tank up for the aesthetic of having everything grow in within the actual rock work within a year, 2 years, 3 years time frame. So I was just looking ahead, and so that's how I set my tank up. So just going to the right, from right to left, and the coral, they have continued to grow. As you can see on this beautiful Anacropora here, there's a lot of nice growth tips on there. Everything is filling in. Same thing on this coral down here. If you can see it, zooming in a little bit, you see the growth tips in there. So that's filling in nice and well. Even this is an update on my Walt Disney here. Last time I showed you this Walt Disney, it was a lot smaller than this. But as you can see, it's reaching, and it's actually encrusting the plug now, and it's starting to grow up a lot higher. You can see those polyps waving from the flow that I have in here, and it's doing rather well. That's another Anacropora up top. It's actually the same type, and I didn't know when I got it, because all of these names of coral and everything, and I didn't realize what it was until it started growing out. So I'll probably be moving that because I have both of them on the same side of the tank, and me personally, I'll probably move the top one, the smaller one, on the left side of the tank someplace and let it grow out over there, but I haven't decided yet. You see my Montipora is growing in nice and lush, and you can see the growth along the outside ring of it. And I put that down at the bottom because I knew that would eventually shade any coral. If I put it up at the top or the middle or whatever, it's wherever you want to put it is fine. But for me, from my experience with these coral, they grow up rather well. As you can see, the Sand Sifting Blenny there, Agobe there. I guess he just wanted to come into the. He's the highlight of the tank, so his personality is rather unique. He keeps my sand bed really clean, actually. He doesn't put sand all over my rock work like a lot of people were talking about, but I don't have any coral down below except one piece in the back, but I put it in the back side of this tank. So, but he doesn't bother anything. So he doesn't put sand all along the rock work or nothing like that. I keep him fed. He actually eats. He keeps the sand bed clean, but I actually feed him a mixture of frozen food. So I forgot the name of it. I think it's like Reef Frenzy or something, I think is what I'm using. But anyway, I feed him frozen food, and he eats at one time a day, and then he sifts through the sand through the rest of the part of the day. But yeah. So moving along, as you can see, I forgot the name of this coral. I'm gonna start putting the names of these coral up within the chat. But this one is actually from Australia, and I cannot remember the name of it, but I will get you those names, and I'll go through it. I know I've been promising to shoot a video to go over the names of the different types of corals I have in here. I have quite a bit of SPS, and I just can't remember all those names. I'm probably gonna have to write them down. But as you can see, this one here is starting to branch out, and this coral took forever just to do that. I've had this piece in there for a long time, but the fact that it's doing this now is rewarding. To see that it's branching out and it's getting settled in. So that's what you want to see within your tank. Same with this piece here. This piece here continues to encrust the plug, and it's reaching for the light, and that's what I want. And you can see little small branches coming up along the base of it. And the tips are like a purplish, bluish color. I'm trying to get it right with this filter, but it's not really bringing those colors out, and this filter is not really showing it justice, but the tips are a nice bluish color, which is pretty amazing. Now this is my Oregon tort here. So this one is growing out, and it's encrusting, but it's taking a long time for it to grow. I thought about moving it, and I was like, maybe I'll just keep it here. Maybe it's too much par for it or something. And I do have a par meter, which I'm gonna be renting from a local fish store here once I actually finish the frag tank back in the back, and I wanna make sure I get the par right for those lights. But while I have that par meter, I'm gonna actually do a par check in here. I have not used the par meter on this tank at all. I've set up many tanks without using the par meter. But I'm just curious to see what kind of par I'm getting on the top on a lot of these corals. So I want to make sure I test this out when I set up the other tank. This coral here, now this one, and I can't remember the name of this one either, but it's continuously growing, and it's fine because it's growing straight up, just the way I like it. But those branches are like reaching up and higher, and that's going to be really, really nice once everything fills out within that area. I'll probably frag it when it gets up a little bit higher, maybe. But as you can see, I have my coral spaced out, and I don't have to worry about anything bumping into it. I just kind of let it be and let it do its own thing. There was a coral behind it on the back side of it, but as you can see, I moved it to the back of the rock work because it was a little too close, and I spaced it out a little more. And that one is coming in fine as well. This one, I think it's called the Fuzz. I think that's the name of it. This is another coral that took a long time to get going. But as you can see, the little white fuzzy polyps are waving in the flow of the tank, and everything is growing in on it. And those colors are a bit amazing. Now, I'm pretty sure it's different. The colors look different than what the colonies look in other tanks. And that's another thing about your lighting. So you see, a lot of times you'll see SPS in one tank, but depending on how your lighting and par is set up and everything and your parameters, the color of that same coral may look different in your tank than it's going to look in the tank that it came from. So I'm going to be interested to see what kind of colors is going to show out once it starts becoming a colony. Now looking below it, this particular coral, that's my Lawnmower Blenny right there. I love him too. Those are pretty cool fish. But the two-spot, the two-spot tank usually gives them a run for their money. But they're peaceful. I keep them fed. They get along okay. So this particular coral right here, I cannot think of the name of this either, but as you can see, the growth tips coming up out of this is rather nice. And what's interesting about this one, if you look at that top piece of the growth, that top growth tip up there, you see that greenish color in there. That's pretty cool. It just started doing that. So I'm hoping once it becomes a full colony, all those tips do that, but it just started doing that, and I haven't really seen that particular. It was colored up before, but it wasn't that particular color. So as it's growing in more, it's starting to look a lot better. More pieces up top. As you can see, everything is growing in. I'm taking my time. It's nice and slow. My green slimer is really growing in, and just kind of doing his own thing. Okay, my auto feeder just cut on. That's a noise you hear. But my bonsai it really encrusted the base of the plug a lot, which is cool because now I can see it balancing itself out as it's starting to grow and fill in. So this is a tabling coral, and I don't know the name of this, and I've had this like for a long time. This coral is another slow grower. It takes a long time for it to do whatever it's going to do, but it is starting to table out a little more. What I'm going to probably do is frag a little bit of piece off of that and put it over once I actually set up, once I'm actually ready to put coral within my frag tank. I'm going to see what it does under the T5 hybrid lighting over there and see if it's different. Now that piece in the back, as you can see, the color it's like a greenish color and reddish tips at the top, which is coming in. That coral was all white for the longest. When I first got it, it took a long time for it to settle in. Now it's starting to settle in and it's looking rather nice. This is a tenuous here. And this one, this camera doesn't show it any justice, but it's got like some pinkish tips, pinkish polyps or whatever around the outside of it. But you can usually see it in the blues once the light starts actually going down in the night. This is another slow, I think this is a rainbow something. I cannot think of the name of this. But this coral here is really slow grower. It is all, I mean, it's growing. I can see that it's growing, but it's going so slow and it's taking its time. It's just, I don't know. That one may take a long time to actually come out. But a lot of times when corals do that, when they finally do start to grow, they take off pretty fast. So I'm just kind of leaving it alone, letting it sit and do what it's gonna do. There's another coral that I just got a while back. It was all white again when I got it, and now it's starting to color in. It's getting settled into the tank. And then those two pieces back there. And then this one here is definitely starting to be a small baby colony kind of frag deal or whatever. It's settled into itself and it's ready to start shooting up. So I'm gonna love to see when that thing starts filling in. And I have these pieces here on this one here, which I put this at the bottom. And I know these Montipora, they'll become evasive and start taking everything over. But if you can see how my rock work is at the bottom and how I have everything kind of like in gaps or sections or whatever. But if it does start to become evasive down there and it starts trying to come up the rock work, I do have a plan to put other coral there to maybe sting it back or something like that. But I'm not worried about that. It's down at the bottom, it's at the base, it's not bothering anything. I'm just gonna kind of let it do what it do. I'm not even too concerned about that. This one here, so this is a Superman, I forgot the name of it. This coral, so this one was looking kind of different for a minute, right? So with me, what I do, I dip with potassium chloride. So this is what I use to dip my coral here, and I use I think it's 1 tablespoon per gallon or something like that. But I use this to dip all my coral when they come in, and if something looks strange on my coral or something looks weird is with the SPS, and you'll know your coral if you just sit back and look. That coral started looking a little different. So one side of it wasn't looking that great. So what I did is took it out and I put it in a 15-minute potassium chloride dip, and now I put it in there. So whatever came up off of it, I didn't really see nothing come up off of it, and I don't know if it was a pest on it. I really don't know, but I haven't had any issues with anything else in here. I'm crossing my fingers, but from what I can see on that one, maybe that dip just stressed it out a little bit too much, and now you can see it starting to bleach a little bit. But I'm gonna leave it alone and see if it fills back in with color on its own and see what happens. I don't know. I think I was just a little extra cautious and really was nothing wrong with it, and I just assumed something was wrong with it, and I pulled it and I put it in the dip. So that's just me being extra cautious, which is nothing wrong with that in this hobby. If you feel something is wrong and something, you know your tank, and I'm very connected with my tank. So if I feel something is different or something is off, I normally just, sometimes the best thing to do is do nothing. But when it comes to these SPS, since these are high-end SPS, a lot of them, I want to make sure that I take that extra precaution. So yeah, so let me digress a little bit. There's some more pieces here along the side of it that are coming in and looking great as well. But it's a good time. It's just sometimes we just need to sit back and just enjoy our tanks and just enjoy everything that we've done to them, and you know, the growth of life that's going on in there, and everything swimming around. But just instead of messing with everything all the time, just sit back and enjoy it. And that's what I usually do, especially this time of the morning, I'll just sit back and enjoy my tank. Now for my flow, a lot of you may be wondering what kind of flow that I'm using. I think I mentioned before. So the only thing I have two Nero 5s for flow. And then I have a vector return pump up top for that flow up there as well. So far, the flow is pretty good. I have one side on how I have it set up. I usually have one side pulse and then one side random. And then at the end of the evening, they switch and the other side goes pulse and then the other side is random. So that's how I have that set up down there with those pumps. I do not know if I'm going to be adding anything else to it. If I do, maybe I'll get some Nero 3s and put them in the back or something like that. I don't know. I think I want to keep everything Nero with this particular Red Sea Reefer 350. And then of course my other tank I have the MP40s, but MP40s are amazing, by the way. And these pumps, Nero 5s, are good too. You just got to keep them clean and keep them maintenance. Then they have their place. It just depends on whatever it is you're looking for. As you can see, the coralline algae growth is ridiculous in there. Inside of my tank is coming in and really good, and it's starting. This is what you want if you actually have an SPS. This is what you want to see. You have an SPS tank or any tank in general, because that's showing that your parameters are stable. You see I have no hair algae in there. I did do a test on my phosphate, which to be honest with you, I only test for two things on this tank, and that's phosphate every now and then alkalinity, actually three, and salinity. Those three things. All the magnesium and all that mess and calcium, I don't really care about that, and here's why. I do 10% water changes religiously each week, every single week. So I've been in this hobby long enough to and I'm very in tune with my tank. I know if something is off and something is wrong or something is not right. My tank will let me know that. But when I'm replenishing everything from you know, I'm creating a problem from building up and happening, if there is a problem, by doing my weekly water changes. And so I'm not gonna over excess with testing and all that kind of stuff, because I never have, and I'm not gonna start doing it. I do not have the Trident and none of that stuff on there. I have my Hanna alkalinity tester, which I test for that, and I have my Hanna phosphate tester for phosphate. And for nitrate, I actually have a Salifert kit. So, you know, again, I randomly test for nitrate as well, because I don't have to. Last time I checked my phosphate, I think I was at 0.05 or something, which some people like, oh, 0.03 or whatever. No, 0.05 is good for me. It's letting me know that my tank is just not ridiculously, there's not a nutrient imbalance or anything like that. So Had to make sure that that's straight. Now I do have as you can see down here, I do have a algae scrubber in here. So I already talked about this before. You can't really see in there, I don't know if you can, but it's probably time for me to scrape it down and get some of the algae off of it. But this thing is awesome. I love that. It keeps the algae here and not up here. So it can grow it down here all it needs, but what it's doing is removing all those high phosphates and everything else in the tank that hair algae uses to grow, and I use that and it works well. UV sterilizer, which I have here. One thing about these UV sterilizers as well, a lot of people may not know, or if you've been doing this a while, you may know as well. You may want to, you got to change the bulb in it every year, but you may want to unscrew this whole housing, cut everything off, unscrew this whole housing, right? Pull that glass tube out with the bulb out, and this area actually accumulates salt. So there's a lot of salt creep and salt buildup that'll accumulate in here, and you're wondering like, oh man, I'm getting crazy algae on my glass. Why is my UV sterilizer not working? It's probably not working because it's full of salt creep and stuff like that. So I have to pull this thing out like maybe once a month, and I got a little scraper and I scrape it out, which is great. Scrape the salt off the tube and put it back in there, and it's good to go. But that's something you might want to check at. So, new update to my system. So this right here is a 5-gallon tank. That's right, people, 5 gallon. What do you think it's for? Just take a random guess. Well, for one, you can see the frag rack in there, mini frag rack. So this is a quarantine tank. I can use this as a quarantine tank for frags, which that's what I'm going to use it for, and I'm going to use it as a quarantine tank for fish if I need to do that. But I don't plan on getting any more fish because, I don't know, I'm more about the coral than the fish. I don't want to go through that whole thing. But if I was to, I don't know, maybe get a fish or something different outside of Elliot's. I get a lot of fish from Elliot and stuff like that. But he actually quarantines his fish. But this is a simple setup. So I have a small heater in here that's preset at 79 degrees. 79 degrees, that's it. I got my little thermometer in here, which shows where it's at 79, 80 degrees or whatever. And this little doohickey I got off of, I think, Amazon too. But the only thing that it has in there is a sponge filter, and that's my biological media. And that's it. And then I have a little cheap power head in there to create flow. And this light I got off Amazon for cheap. Now this light, you can turn it on, and it's this color here, it's bright. And then you can also, it's another setting where you turn it, you got blue on there. So it's whatever you choose to use. I'll probably use the blue, but if I'm gonna put my coral under observation and they're sitting in there, because I can put several little frag racks in there. When I'm ordering coral, I'm never ordering no more than 5 or 6 at a time. And there's plenty of room. 5 gallons, plenty of room. You don't have to have no massive quarantine tank for coral, but this is only 5 gallon, that's it. Easy setup, not anything complex. It's been running, I just keep it running, and it's in the corner. And yeah, so when I get new coral in, it'll go into this quarantine system, put it on observation. If I need to treat it or whatever, I can treat it in here, and it's fine. It's not, none of my systems are connected. All my systems are separate. So I can do that, and everything works fine. So moving over here to the 20 gallon. This one is doing well also. This is my 20 gallon water box. And I remember I think I was telling everybody about this. The only thing that I run in this tank is filter floss and a little carbon in the back. At the moment, I actually don't even have any carbon in there because I took the carbon out because I'm waiting for some new carbon to come in there, but I'm trying something out to see if I do not run it with carbon, how would the coral respond. As you can see, they were looking good before, but they're actually looking good here. My Duncan has a crap ton of heads growing on around it. All of the other, got my hammer there, and all the other coral, bird's nest up top, and got the leather. But with this tank here, it's simple. I only have 2 fish in there. You see that clown, and then you have that secretive wrasse. That's it. I don't even want to put any more fish in there. I don't need to. I don't care to. Again, it's all about the coral for me. But this one here is growing in rather nicely, and that's all I have in here is filter floss. Oh, and a UV sterilizer and I run that carpet, and that's it. I feed this tank from this little feeder ring from pellets and a little pinch here and there, and that's it. So now moving over to this system, as you can see here, let's see if I can cut the light on. So I have 2 green chromas in here, and then I have 2 clownfish in here. And so this is my livestock. So the only other thing I'm gonna add to this tank, right, and of course now I have frag racks in there. I'm waiting on a couple more. I think I ordered them from Clearview Aquatics, which they'll be here today. So I have 2 pieces of the rock that's been in this tank over here forever. And I just moved it over here when I was cycling it to see if I can actually kind of skip the ugly brown stage or whatever. But this middle area here is gonna be like a step level of racks. That's gonna come up, I think maybe 5-6 inches higher or something. Broke it down to 1.5 inch, and that's gonna be in the middle. And I'll keep those 2 pieces of rock somewhere in there for the fish to have a little habitat to play around, maybe some copepods or something like that in there, but it's not doing anything, but I'll have it in there with my frag racks. And of course these are on each side. Everything is gonna be even. Now I did add a bacteria on the bottle in here. I think it was like Microbacter XML starred, I think that's the name of it. And I also added Microbacter clean at the end of that cycle. So I think I have a lot of beneficial bacteria in here. I just seeded it with pods the other day. So I bought 2 bottles of pods from Saltwater Aquarium, the Apex pods. I seeded it with this, and something else cool about this tank, right? So down here, this is my live, I think it's live reef rock rubble. You can use it for frag plugs or whatever, but what I do, these this is a Cade aquarium, by the way, Cade Reef 1200. So these little baskets are removable, and there's 4 of them in here, 4 media baskets that are removable right before the return chamber in here. And you can actually I have these in here, and I've been having them in here as long as they've been cycling. So this gives me a spot for my beneficial bacteria to grow, and I'm gonna see how that goes with the ugly brown stage. So I have my Max Spec jump pump here going. It's been going for a while, breaking in. It ain't really nothing to skim because it's only the few fish just got in there the other day. So it's not really a whole lot going on in here, which is fine. To some, it may be a bit overkill for a skimmer like that, but again, I never know what I want to do with this tank. So better to have than not have. So that back area, that's a float valve to the, this has a built-in ATO system from the top of this, and I'm gonna show you in a minute. The last time you saw this tank, right, I didn't use that ATO system. I had my MP40s on the back. So whatever reason, I just thought the flow wasn't gonna be right. So what I did was took my MP40s and put them on the side. I don't care how it look. And I have them set up in like a circular loop going around. So this one is in the back, and then this one here is towards the front. So it catches around in a circular way. This one here is set on gyra, and this one here is on reef crest mode. So I have them alternating, and I'm gonna play with those once I get the coral in there and see how everything goes. So in this back area, what I was talking to you about, right? So this is a built-in ATO reservoir. So I have it running and it's working, and I actually love it. So I'm gonna just keep this reservoir going. It's built in there. Everything is fine. You don't have to worry about it. Say for instance, if that flow valve just opened up or something like that, the way these sumps are, I don't know if you've seen them, but they're so high up. Like even if that float valve was to go bad, there is no way that 7 gallons of water will exceed the top of this. Actually sump. So I love the setup, and of course you have different valves, gate valves to add whatever you want to add to. I'm actually going to add a UV sterilizer in here, and I'm going to also put an algae scrubber in here as well. So I just haven't gotten those yet, but they're definitely on the way. All right, again with my system over here, Everything over here is set up, still looking nice. I was playing with that earlier. But I have everything labeled here, and I also have, for a little bit of redundancy, I actually have a Apex built, Apex on inside this as well. So I have a lot of stuff because I never know what I want to do with this tank. So I want to make sure I have everything I needed. And I just like I label my other tanks, I know when I'm doing a water change, when the water level is full, when it's 5 gallons, and also when it's 10 gallons. So I know how much I'm taking in and out of there. But yeah, these are my systems. Again, sometimes it's good to just sit back and just enjoy your tanks and just enjoy everything that you're doing to put in work within this hobby and have fun with it. You don't have to over excess with stuff, and I try to keep things as simple as I can. I try to, but it's, my level of simplicity may be different than somebody else's. But yeah, just sit back and enjoy, and happy reefing. And I'm happy to provide this content. I'm looking to provide more content. Like or subscribe, please. Let me know if you like the video. If you want to see different content, let me know. And have a great day.